This is CBC Here and Now.
It's about the workers. It's about their safety. We don't want to be at the hospital dealing with this. We should never be dealing with it anyway.
6 workers from Come By Chance remain in hospital, and when the refinery reopens, the union says some likely won't return.
1 in 10 people in this province can't drink the water coming out of their own taps. We'll speak to some of them coming up.
It's been a rocky couple of years for post-secondary education students, bouncing back and forth between online learning and in-class instruction, but Memorial University is back starting today. We'll hear what some of the students have to say coming up.
Welcome to Here and Now. We begin tonight with the situation at the Come By Chance refinery. You'll soon hear from the union representing some refinery employees. It says they face a long road ahead. But first, Garrett Barry brings us this look back at Friday's explosion and breaks down the timeline of what happened and when.
Late Friday afternoon, the first reports of an incident at the Come By Chance refinery. Witnesses see ambulances moving in and out of the industrial site. About an hour later, police confirm they are investigating an incident. We hear 7 people are injured, at least one of them seriously. Shortly after, Brea Renewable Fuels releases a statement pledging to do everything it can to support its workers. Emergency responders, including RCMP and company firefighters, remain at the refinery. Around 8:30, helicopters begin landing at a parking lot in Clarenville. The town closes a supermarket, creating a makeshift helipad outside of a Soapbox. Injured workers are loaded and transported to St. John's for further care. At the same time, Come By Chance Mayor Carol Malloy speaks to reporters, saying her community is coming together to help each other through the situation.
Everybody knows someone at the site, and we're all very thankful for everyone who came home safe this evening. And again, we extend our thoughts and prayers to the workers, fellow co-workers, and certainly we do extend gratitude and thanks to the emergency response personnel who attended to the accident today.
That brings us to late Friday night. Injured workers are landing at the Health Sciences Centre in St. John's. 5 workers are moved overnight.
Well, meanwhile, the union representing most of the refinery workers is speaking out, raising concerns about safety and vowing to keep workers at home until it gets some firm answers. Here Now's Terry Roberts has the latest from Come By Chance.
There have been upwards of 650 people working at the refinery in recent months, but this sprawling site is quiet today, now in the hands of safety inspectors and the RCMP, all trying to find out what went so horribly wrong on Friday.
I'm very upset. I'm very distraught by this whole thing.
The company that owns the refinery said work will be paused until next Monday, with all workers receiving their usual paychecks. But the union representing most refinery workers says not so fast.
I want this pause until the investigation is done so all the workers can go back in that site safe. I don't care if it's this week, next month. At the end of the day, we have to know what happens. 5
of the 8 injured workers remain in hospital in St. John's. I've been talking to some of the family members of those who were caught in the fire. I'm told some were seriously burned and are still being heavily sedated in hospital. 2 of the workers were released from hospital over the weekend. 1 is still receiving care in Clarenville. It's about the workers. It's about their safety. We don't want to be at the hospital dealing with this. We should never be dealing with it anyway. The union says it was generally pleased with the commitment to safety by the company, but admitted today that workers had been raising concerns prior to the incident. There was people that had a lot of complaints and that we reviewed them and brought them forward to the company. But for now, Glenn Nolan says his #1 priority is the injured workers. I hope everybody survives. That's what we're here for. We're waiting for our last person. We're waiting for everybody to be healed and be out of that hospital. The company and various unions have offered counseling support to workers and their families. In a statement, executives with Brea said the company is preparing a return-to-work plan and a resumption of the construction work that is converting the aging facility from an oil refinery to a producer of advanced biofuels for the global transportation industry. Brea President Jim Stump said, "We are committed to learning from this incident to ensure we are providing a safe work environment for everyone and to help prevent something like this from happening again." When asked if he believes the refinery is a safe workplace, Glenn Nolan had this to say.
It was unsafe that day for whatever reason. And until we get that fixed and find out, then we could talk about if it's a safe workplace.
It's now been 4 days since the incident, and the leadership at Brea Renewable Fuels continues to decline interview requests, choosing instead to issue written statements. Meanwhile, the investigation into what happened here continues. Terry Roberts, CBC News, Come By Chance.
First day of school for Demetrius Katchnak. Oh my goodness!
Yes, it is a big day, the first day back to school for many students, like the ones here at Mushwa Innu School in Natuashish. Our cameras were there this morning and caught some students as they made their way into the building. Mushwa Innu School has about 300 students ranging from kindergarten to grade 12. Hope you all had a great first day back.
Good evening. I'm obviously not Ashley Brauweiler. I'm Jeremy Eaton filling in for tonight. Let's take a quick look at some of the chillier temperatures that people would have seen today, but it is going to warm up into tomorrow. 19 degrees and sun in Port aux Basques. And when we move up into Labrador, it's going to be even nicer. Look at that, 16 and sunny in Nain, sunny and 19 in Happy Valley Goose Bay, and sunny in Labrador City. But those chillier temperatures that people woke up to today can only mean one thing: back to school. All of Memorial University's campuses welcome back students in person today. Now, it's been a bit of a roller coaster ride. They've bounced back and forth between online and in class during COVID, but today it was a different atmosphere. I stopped by campus to chat to a few bright-eyed higher education seekers. Take a look.
I think there's a lot of excitement for sure. People are really, really excited to have that university experience in person as well, but I know folks are feeling a lot of stress and anxiety about the rising tuition costs, rising housing prices, etc. So a lot of mixed feelings here today, but we're super excited to have folks back on campus.
We are enjoying the environment, and they are welcoming us. They are giving greetings. They are giving lots of services. For example, they are helping us a lot. Yeah, it's my first time on campus. I have done online classes and for 1 semester, and then I newly landed here.
Well, the first year of university for me was definitely really rough. Since I started in fall of 2020, I was completely online for my first year, which was pretty difficult. It was really hard to focus when I was completely at home. There was renovations happening in my house. My dog was there. Last year was actually really good, being back in person and on campus for the first time for me. It was actually a really good year. It was really exciting to be back in person. I really enjoy doing my classes. I am hoping to apply to honors for the winter semester, and yeah, I'm really excited for it.
Yes, about the in-person class, it's really wonderful, and they're synchronized. The way the professors teach us, it's really good. They're helping students, and they're taking questions which we need, and they're answering very perfectly. I have been in Newfoundland and Labrador for 10 days, and I have gone to a lot of places and sightseeing beaches as well as the museums and everything the Newfoundland.
And do you like it? Do you like it so far?
Yes, I have I've enjoyed the scenery as well as the people are so much welcoming. The way they talk to us, it's really wonderful.
What's been challenging for students, I talked to a third-year student who is just coming for the first time on campus. The last 2 years, he was learning remotely from his apartment. So they've missed that university experience, that chance to meet new people, the chance to really get involved in university life, which is so exciting and so important. For faculty and staff, it's the same thing. We're here because of students. We love them around us. We want to be here with them. So I see a lot of excitement with our faculty and staff here.
In other news tonight, the mother of a man who died in custody 2 years ago is suing the provincial government. 22-year-old Jacob Collins died by suicide at the Labrador Correctional Centre in 2020. CBC News has learned a correctional officer was fired for failing to regularly check on inmates and did not read a note warning of Collins' condition. As Ariana Kelland reports, that officer is now fighting his termination.
My son was a good boy. He just had some mental health issues, and he was struggling with that.
Time has not lessened Virginia Collins' grief, but knowing a prison guard lost his job as a result offered some relief.
It's just mind-boggling that to think that someone that was supposed to watch out for you or make sure he's safe trying to get his job back.
Jacob Collins died by suicide in February 2020, the same day he was denied bail. Collins says her son requested to be placed in a cell alone.
There's a lot of red flags. If they had been noticed, I think he would still be here.
A newly hired correctional officer was fired in the wake of Collins' death. The details are spelled out in a preliminary arbitration hearing. The officer admitted to not checking on inmates at the Labrador Correctional Centre for more than 2 hours, breaching protocol, and not paying attention to a note written by another officer requesting additional checks on Collins. His union will argue blame shouldn't fall on the guard, but on prison officials. NAPE says management failed to address Collins' health conditions and didn't follow protocols. Now the Collins family is suing the province over its role in the young man's death, alleging the government failed in its duty of care to protect him.
My son is gone and I'm never going to see him, and he died under their watch.
Those allegations have not yet been proven in court. The provincial government has not filed a statement of defense yet. Ariana Kelland, CBC News, St. John's.
Flags at the Confederation Building in St. John's are flying at half-mast today following a mass killing in Saskatchewan over the weekend. The Saskatchewan provincial flag is also flying at Confederation Building. Premier Andrew Furey says Newfoundland and Labrador is remembering the victims and thinking of their loved ones as well as those who were injured in Sunday's attack. And tonight, the search continues for one of the suspects. Police have surrounded a residence on the James Smith Cree Nation in Saskatchewan as the manhunt continues for Miles Sanderson. Roads have been blocked and people are being told to shelter in place. Sanderson is wanted in connection with the stabbing rampage in the area on Sunday. A total of 11 people were killed, including Sanderson's brother, Damien, who was also a suspect in the attacks. 31-year-old Miles Sanderson has a long criminal record and history of explosive anger. Documents from the Parole Board of Canada show that over the span of 2 decades, Sanderson had accumulated 59 convictions. His crimes included assault with a weapon, assaulting a police officer, uttering threats, and robbery. Police have been looking for him for several months. Sanderson was declared illegally at large in May after he stopped seeing his parole officer. He was on parole as part of a 5-year sentence for a number of violent offenses. In other news, there's an update tonight on the review of breast cancer screening tests at Central Health. As of today, more than 2,500 diagnostic images have been reviewed and 9 possible errors have been found. And that's an increase from 4 potential discrepancies in late August when close to 900 tests had to be looked at again. Central Health has another 500 tests to review, but it says so far the numbers suggest a low risk to patients. Across the province, health authorities are reviewing more than 14,000 mammogram results dating back several years because they were done on substandard monitors. Politicians are asking people in the province to lay off the sugar. Last week's sugar tax is meant to discourage people from buying pop and other sweetened drinks and consider healthier options like water. But dozens of communities across the province don't have access to healthier options. And as Here and Now's Malone Mullen reports, for some, accessing safe drinking water is a daily challenge.
Maxine Leonard is one of the lucky ones here in Branch. What's coming out of her taps is crystal clear, perfect for drinking, cooking, and washing. But it's only because the Leonards had the money and the property to dig their own well.
And this is the water that comes out.
This is the public water supply. Every resident in the Outport pays for it, but the water usually comes out yellow, brown, or full of mud. It's not drinkable unless it's boiled.
There's nothing but brown bog water coming out of it. The people of the community deserve better than that.
Branch is one of about 160 communities across the province under a boil advisory. For some, it means fetching water from their neighbors' private wells. For others, it means a weekly trip to Costco, or a trip here to a spot known as Carey's Spout, where spring water trickles out of this small pipe. Nearly 50,000 people in the province live in an area where gathering water presents a daily challenge. Many communities have been under a boil advisory for years, even decades, in places like Branch, Pollard's Point, and Cartwright. Add them all up, that's 1 in 10 people who don't have safe, clean water coming out of their taps. So what about government's latest move to encourage healthy drink consumption, slapping a tax on pop in places where water isn't easily accessible?
We are introducing a tax on sugar-sweetened beverages. We want you to start thinking now about how you'll be able to choose healthier beverages. Newfoundland and Labrador Dental Association, quote, "We support healthy choices for oral health and overall health. We recommend that you make water your drink of choice."
Just a short drive from Branch in St. Bride's, Ralph Strickland has to drive to his cousin's house, fill up some gallon jugs from his private well, then drive back home. The 74-year-old cancer survivor says he's been fighting for years to bring the community into the 21st century.
Well, I remember when I was in school, I used to carry water, and I'm still at it. I'm 75 years old now. I will be in a couple of months, and I'm still carrying water.
In Cartwright, it's the same problem. The town has been under a boil advisory since 2008. With people retiring and moving away, the town has had to rely heavily on federal and provincial money to fix its water system.
We were supposed to have some work done on the water intake at our reservoir. Once this work is completed, then we should be able to get off the boil order. Unfortunately, I think it's still in the engineering stages.
So here's the problem. NL is a big place. Communities are spread out, and there's not a lot of money in these small towns. Not enough to pay for pricey equipment.
Some communities simply don't have a filtration system. Others have one, but it's broken, or repeat sampling has come back with coliforms and E. coli. The government says there is a pot of money for capital works projects and says it's tendered 50 water-related projects so far this year, but it's up to towns to apply, then wait and see. Back in Branch, Maxine thinks it's all about priorities.
It's horrible. In this day and age, why should anybody in Newfoundland and Labrador, be on a boil water order? It should be clean, accessible drinking water for everyone. It's just should be. I don't know how other way to say it. And there has to be a way to do it. A lot of money is wasted on a lot of foolish things, but putting it on water is not a foolish thing. Everybody needs it.
Malone Mullen, CBC News, Branch.
Well, the second season of Son of a Critch is on its way. The cast have been in town wrapping up the summer shoot for the show. It follows a young Mark Critch as he navigates life growing up in St. John's. CBC stopped by the set to chat with creator Mark Critch and star Malcolm McDowell about what audiences should expect this time around.
What? I'm fine.
Ring. Will somebody get that? Got it.
I think the big difference between the first and second season for us is we know these characters a lot more now, and the audience will know them. So there's less time setting things up and explaining the situation in the world. When Pop comes on screen, people know exactly who that is. And these characters grow a lot this year, and they're much different experiences. The cast and the audiences themselves will just know them so much better. You know, everybody's had their heart broken. Everybody's had a bully. Everybody's, worried about their kids. So these things that we share, they happen to be set in Newfoundland and Labrador, but they're universal. And I think that we have our own culture and our own quirks and our own oddities about ourselves, which we love to celebrate, but also people find really interesting. And I see that from our cast, they come here and the people who aren't from here, they've all fallen in love with Newfoundland and Labrador.
I love Newfoundland. I feel like it's second home for me. I just love it here. It's so lovely to be back. Pop is an amalgam of all these old codgers, I think, that I've known through the years. Pop's main kind of relationship really is with Mark. In a way, he gives so much bad advice to the poor kid, but his heart's in the right place.
When I first set out to do this, I thought if I made a show that kids can watch and think it's for them, but also adults can watch and think, that's for me, and both people or groups of people are watching it and they feel that, then that's what I want to do. And then I got all these messages from people, families watching the first season together, and the parents would watch and the kids would watch, and then they talk about it. Did that really happen? Was that like that for you? Are you going through that now? And I thought that was great. I guess my favorite moment of shooting season 2 would be myself and the great Malcolm McDowell find ourselves in a make and break boat out on the ocean jigging cod.
Well, I didn't catch one. I must be the only person ever to have jigged and not brought up something. No, it was in the scene and we weren't supposed to. But I heard they were so common they would jump in the boat. That wasn't true.
Just to be out on the water and showing off this place, and in an old putt-putt boat, and Malcolm is there, and just kind of really enjoying the day and reflecting. It's like, oh great, people get to see this. This is going to be cool. And he is just in awe of our natural beauty and stuff. So getting to show off the place a little bit more this year, because we've established our world, we get to go out and do things like that. You'll see more of the island this year.
I think this season is as good, if not better, than the first one. But who knows? We'll let the audience be the judge and we'll see. But I have a feeling we'll be coming back next year, and I hope so.
It was a bit of a chillier start to the day for a lot of people in the province, but there is good news coming. It's going to warm up all across Newfoundland and Labrador. I'll have more of the forecast coming up.
Well, as Jeremy mentioned earlier in the show, all Memorial University campus students were welcomed back in person today. For those on the Corner Brook campus, it's about as close to normal as they've seen in years. At Grenfell today, students were eager to see what this semester will bring.
Kind of nerve-wracking, especially coming out of high school, I think is like the biggest thing, especially with 2 years of COVID affecting our learning and then coming into post-secondary. And for us, we haven't wrote exams in 3 years now. So to come here and write midterms next month is very stressful, and I feel like a lot of the students are in the same boat as me. I know the first few days were kind of hectic, but I know a lot of people seem nervous. A lot of people had their heads down. Even just trying to interact with people seemed a little bit awkward, but I do notice like today, even this morning, it's a lot different.
It's definitely been really exciting to be back and see so many new students and to have an opportunity to make friends again. It was challenging the last few years, making friends with folks online because we didn't even get to see each other's faces. So being able to see faces and have a community to get together to go to events is something I'm really eager to do. I've been a student since 2014, and I'm basically seeing like a resurge of people's excitement for community.
It's a big change definitely from going from such a small school to a much bigger school, but I'm really excited about it. I feel like the government and like the health system, they have like a lot of things under control. They got good guidelines in check. Like I think it's going to be a lot better. I'm comfortable with wearing masks and sanitizing and all that, but like I think it's going to be a lot better than what it was 2 years ago.
Excited about meeting new people, making friends, and give my best to study and fulfill my course. I feel free. After a long time, it feels like I'm free and no restrictions.
It feels really good. I mean, it's great to be able to interact with all the students and the professors again. That was definitely rough through COVID, trying to complete everything, being so distant and not having that like one-on-one chats and being able to stop by and see everyone. So it's nice to be able to kind of have that normal academic experience again.
So today started out a little bit chilly, and I know that the students at Memorial University were a little bit more bundled up than you'd expect in September, but let's take a quick look at today's highest temperatures across the province. As you can see, 17 in Labrador City, 12 up in Nain. The hot spot, Port aux Basques at 19 degrees, and it's going to stay warm down on the southwest coast and the south coast, and we'll get more into that a little bit later. And into Central, 14 degrees in Badger, 10 in Lassie. Now it'll get chillier overnight, but we can look at that right now, right quick, as you can see. So what you're going to see tonight, starting in the Avalon Peninsula, is you're going to see it's going to go down to about a low of 11 degrees, and you can look at probably drizzle falling overnight, and that is going to continue into the morning. And it's a similar story down in Marystown and Harbour Breton. Same thing in central Newfoundland, except Grand Falls, Windsor will be 9 degrees in Gander. Now there's no major accumulation with this, but it is going to be a little bit drizzly and a little bit damp. And as we look at the west coast, you're looking at 11 degrees Port aux Basques, 11 degrees in Corner Brook, but no precipitation there, and up 9 degrees in St. Anthony. Now if we move into Labrador, it's going to be clear skies up there, but it's going to be a lot chillier, 5 degrees in the Straits, and that'll be the coldest temperature that we'll probably see overnight, 7 degrees in Labrador City. But we're going to take a quick look here now at the future tracker, which is, you can see, so there's not a lot of rain. There's a little bit of rain down here by St. John's, which is going to move off, which is good news. So that's that little drizzle that you're going to see overnight and into the morning. And it will be pretty foggy there along most of Central and on the Avalon Peninsula, but that's going to burn off. And you might not see the sun, but you certainly will on the southwest coast and into Labrador. So let's take a quick look at what we can expect for tomorrow. As I said, like Placentia, Ferryland, Marystown, Clarenville, Bonavista, St. John's, they're all going to look at the same. It's going to be a little bit of fog overnight, which will burn off, but there's going to be those showers, mainly drizzle. So not really showers, but I don't think that there's a drizzle icon. We just have the shower ones. And you can see that that'll continue up into Clarenville as well. But then when you move into central Newfoundland, there is Terra Nova is going to see a bit of that precipitation, as is Harbour Breton as well, but in Central, less so, but it is going to be cloudy and cloud cover. But that is all going to change when you move in. Look at this. It's going to be the 7th of September tomorrow, and you're looking at 19 in Port aux Basques, 19 in Stephenville, 19 in Grossmoor, 19 in Corner Brook. Everybody gets 19 degrees on the west coast, apparently. 13 up in Bay Vert, and as you move up, those high temperatures will continue. Look at that, 17 degrees in Port au Choix, 17 in Cartwright. And it gets even warmer as you move into the heart of the Big Land. As you can stand, I'm standing right in front of it, 20 degrees in Churchill Falls, 20 in Labrador City, 16 in Nain, and 18 in Makkovik. Now the good news is for parts of the island that is going to warm up. Now you can see there's a little bit of the system coming up here over my shoulder into Labrador, and that's going to bring some precipitation into Friday and into the weekend. But the good news is on the island it's going to move out, and this is why it's going to be such a clear day there on the west coast, which is good news for everybody. Now if we run this just a little bit more, you can see as it all burns off and there away it goes, and then this system is going to be something that we're going to track and keep an eye on, and we'll have more on that coming up in the long range forecast. But the good news is the temperatures went down a little bit today, but they're on the way back up, and it's going to be a nice weekend, and I'll talk more about that later on in the show.
Thanks, Jeremy. Well, softball players and fans in the province finally got a long-awaited sports fix. Softball NL hosted the 2022 Men's and Masters Men's Canadian Fast Pitch Championship in St. John's last week. It had been delayed for the past few years due to the pandemic. The 5-day tournament was held at the Caribou Memorial Softball Complex in Pleasantville. Here Now's Henrika Wilhelm spoke with the organizers on Sunday on the final day of the event. Have a look.
The last few days have just been great. We've had some great ball, and I guess, like I say, at the end of the day, we've got 6 teams left in the championship right now, and 3 of them happens to be Newfoundland teams, like I say, which always makes the last day much more exciting. That's for sure.
Anytime you can get a national tournament from Softball Canada is pretty exciting, no matter where they're held in any province or territory. We've been very fortunate to have a number of these, and we've had this tournament for a couple of times in recent years. It gives an opportunity to really grow the game of fast pitch softball in our province. To see the best players in the world. When you look at, we have 12 men's teams here, 6 master men's teams. That's 18 teams of people across this country, and 4 of those teams are here from our own province. That gives an indication of where the top level of men's fast pitch is in this country. Many of these players play on teams at various other parts of North America, and they have excelled exceptionally well. Our own team here, Galway, they have won 7 national championships, and out of the last 8 that they were in, it gives an opportunity not only for the fans to see the level, minor people to be encouraged to where they would like to be, because many of these players are going to the World Championships in November in Auckland, New Zealand. Winning games is not what it's all about in any of these championships. It's giving the experience to athletes to go out there and try and do better than they did the day before. So we're working with, we just hired our first full-time technical director again. We have an executive director. We're building the infrastructures. We're working with not only here, but we want to work with many towns in the province to get their infrastructures in place, because it's an opportunity for all ages to play our game. When you're here alongside of a lake in the heart of St. John's, what else can you say? It's a beautiful setting. People are having a great time, tourists, and getting around, and we're delivering a great championship for them.
And congratulations to the local team, DC Galway Hitmen. They won against the Toronto Batmen 4-1 for the men's title at the Canadian Fast Pitch Championship. And another team from Newfoundland and Labrador faced off in the Masters Division final. East Coast Mortgage Brokers Hitmen lost to Saskatchewan's Melfort 222s with a score of 5-2. An influential figure in this province's history has passed away. Cabot Martin died Friday at the age of 78. He was a lawyer, a policy advisor during the Peckford years, and he fought to defend the province's rights to its resources in both the offshore oil industry and the fishery. St. John's writer Des Sullivan posted a tribute to Cabot Martin on his online blog, Uncle Gnarly. I asked him about Martin's most significant contributions to the province.
There's no question that you'd have to look in terms of the Atlantic Accord as his main contribution. What perhaps is not well understood is that in his own way, he described it as 13 years of crawling over broken glass dealing with Ottawa. And in 1972, when he became policy advisor to the Minister of Energy in those days, a new administration under Frank Moores had come in. There was a new attitude towards how Newfoundland ought to proceed in terms of its own ability to manage its resources. Cabot played a huge role as the principal architect in setting out a roadmap for how we might approach getting control of our offshore resources. And someone like Cabot Martin, who was extremely intelligent, intellectually a giant, really, very analytical, insightful, but yet a guy who just loved being part of government policy and devising new strategies where Newfoundland might prosper, because he was a passionate guy too, very passionate about this province.
You save the fish and you save the people too, because you caused the problem and you got money somewhere in your goddamn bag to pay for their suffering.
His first passion was really the fishery, and in the early days when of being on the Hill in the Federation building, he headed a fishery group that, along with other people, developed a report that forecast the collapse of the fishery even before Alverson and Dr. Harris brought in theirs, which led to the moratorium.
Most people couldn't believe that you could do damage to such an enormous thing. You know, get up on Signal Hill and you look out at all that water and think that you could actually do a lot of damage to it. It was a fairly radical thought, but we were doing it.
So fishery in those days was top of mind for him as it was for the government of the day. Now, as you know, things didn't end there. This was a guy that didn't just leave public policy behind him because he left government. He was always passionate about it. He was deeply offended, I think it's probably the kindest way I can say it, deeply offended with regard to muskrat and how all of that came about, deeply hurt by how Nalcor and the government of the day treated critics, of which he was an important one.
A potential fatal step in the creation of a financial blunder that really is unparalleled in our history.
He was also concerned with regard to soil issues, sensitive soils at the North Spur, wrote a book, Muskrat Madness. So he never ever went away from public policy. And even more recently, as he saw governments backsliding with the federal government on certain terms of the Atlantic Accord that made Newfoundland ostensibly the principal beneficiary, that concerned him deeply. The fact that the current government had really no policy to deal with wind hydrogen development, that concerned him too, and he was really just getting his feet wet into that area.
We're long past the time when anybody has any right or even reasonable expectation to say, trust me, I'm the government, trust me. That's not a big seller these days.
This wasn't about being a critic, or it wasn't about opposing government. It wasn't a partisan issue. It was ultimately about Newfoundland getting something valuable from its resources, not giving them away again for a few short-term jobs, which was so prevalent throughout the 50s, 60s, and even the early 70s.
Tomorrow is the big day back to the books. It's the start of a new school year for most students across the province. Tune in to the St. John's Morning Show as the CBC's Garrett Berry will be reporting live from Elizabeth Park Elementary in Paradise. And on Labrador Morning, char, sea ice, and the ocean floor, the Sustainable Nunatsiavut Futures Project will hold an event to talk about the latest research happening around Nain. Hear all the details about that tomorrow. There was a different display at the St. John's Farmers Market this weekend. In addition to the jams and jellies, fresh fruits and veggies, there were also scientists. That's because the market was hosting Soapbox Science NL, which aims to get more women and gender-diverse people into the field. Our Henrika Wilhelm swung by.
Historically, many people have been marginalized from science on purpose, right? Science is very much a white male-dominated field, but we want to change that, and that is changing. And so we want to highlight that it is possible for anybody to do science and that we have a place here.
And how far have you yourself as a scientist and as a student at MUN experienced that you're, that women are underrepresented in the sciences?
Oh my goodness, yes. Like I've seen that in my undergrad courses, especially when you start off in university. Of course, your classes are huge. You have hundreds of people in your class. And by far I've been underrepresented as a woman in those courses, especially in the harder sciences like physics and like harder math courses. So definitely I have experienced that myself.
How important is it for you to have this network here now with all these other female and gender diverse scientists? How important is that to you as a scientist?
It's excellent and it's super important. It's great to come together with a group of women who are like-minded, who are all strong-headed, really interested in what they do, super passionate about why they're doing it, and just bring it together and show everybody else what we're doing.
It's important to have different viewpoints. The more diverse viewpoints we have, the more we can discover and find new things.
Well, back to our top national story. Police have surrounded a residence on the James Smith Cree Nation in Saskatchewan as the manhunt continues for Miles Sanderson. Roads have been blocked, some homes have been evacuated, and other people are being told to shelter in place. Sanderson is wanted in connection with the deadly stabbing rampage in the area on Sunday. CBC's Adam Hunter has more.
The communities of James Smith Cree Nation and nearby Weldon are dealing with the aftermath of a mass stabbing that has left 10 dead and 18 more injured. On Monday, the body of 31-year-old Damian Sanderson was found on James Smith Cree Nation. Police say his injuries do not appear self-inflicted. He is the 11th person to die. He had been named as a suspect. His brother Miles is facing 3 counts of first-degree murder, attempted murder, and break-and-enter. The names of some of those killed are slowly starting to emerge as families share details. One of the victims is Lana Head, a 49-year-old mother of 5. Earl Burns Sr., a veteran, is also among the dead. Gloria Burns, a 62-year-old frontline worker, was also killed. Her family says she was working at the James Smith Cree Nation Health Clinic when a crisis call came in. She died responding to the call.
She raised 4 of her nephews. Their mother passed away when they were very young, and she took them as her own children, and she raised them the best she could. And that's the kind of person she was. And for her to go into a situation like this where she helping people, even though it costed her life, that's what she was. That's who she was.
Another victim, 77-year-old widower Wes Peterson of Weldon. His neighbor says she collapsed when she heard the news.
Takes care of everyone here. He helped. If someone needed a hand, he helped. He was a kind-hearted man.
Today in Vancouver, the Prime Minister was asked about the situation.
I spoke with chiefs a couple of days ago. I spoke with yesterday, I spoke with the Premier. We're going to continue to be there while people grieve, while people heal.
We're also learning more about Miles Sanderson. Parole documents from February show he has nearly 60 convictions, including assault, assault with a weapon, uttering threats, assaulting a police officer, and robbery. Saskatoon police say they'd been searching for Sanderson after he failed to meet with his caseworker and was considered unlawfully at large. Adam Hunter, CBC News, Regina.
In international news, Liz Truss took office today as Britain's new Prime Minister. Truss laid out her government's priorities in her first public speech as the country's leader.
By delivering on the economy, on energy and on the NHS, we will put our nation on the path to long-term success.
Earlier in the day, Queen Elizabeth formally appointed Truss as Boris Johnson's successor after he resigned in July amid a series of scandals. Truss won the Conservative Party leadership over the weekend to become the country's 4th Prime Minister in 6 years. She's the UK's 3rd female Prime Minister. Most recently, she served as Foreign Secretary, the country's top diplomat. Now to South Korea, where the most powerful typhoon so far this year has come ashore. It slammed into the southern coast, forcing thousands to evacuate to higher ground. The port city of Busan has been hit with high waves, strong winds, and heavy rains. Nearly 3,500 people have left that area. There are reports at least 3 people have been killed. Some areas have reported severe damage. Seaside barriers have been smashed, roads have been flooded, and trees are down. Schools and businesses are closed and flights have been canceled. The storm is moving northeast and heading towards northern Japan. Well, Labor Day weekend marks the end of what's become a cherished annual tradition for residents and visitors of St. John's. Water Street officially opened to traffic at noon today, bringing an end to another year of the downtown pedestrian mall. And while strolling in the street is no longer permitted, patios will remain open until the end of October. Visitors to the pedestrian mall say they really enjoyed it.
Great, you've got full access. You come off the other streets and you come onto here, and it's just brilliant. You know, if the pavements are congested, you just walk on the road. Not only that, I've seen the families come down here and their kids running loose on the street, and they just love it. You know, and it's magical. You know,
it's brought the place together. People are out in the streets hopping. People are, you know, eating and buying things, and get this place going. People lost a lot over the. So this was a great decision. I wish they would keep making great decisions like this.
I wouldn't pack away all of your summer clothes just yet, and I know a lot of people haven't because we've had such a wonderful summer here in most parts of the province. But take a quick look, looking ahead now to Thursday. As you can see, the temperatures remain pretty high, 20 degrees in Corner, 20 degrees in Happy Valley, Goose Bay, and the lowest temperature there seems to be like 14 in Gander and 14 in St. Anthony. Now there will be some precipitation up in the Big Land, but the good news is that it's going to move off through the Big Land and it's going to push off there. So these temperatures are going to stick around for a little bit, but it is going to get hotter in Gander. Now let's take a quick look at the future tracker. Like I said, you can see this green monster coming over there, and this is going to bring precipitation over into the Big Land into Friday and maybe into the weekend as well. So we'll just play that out as you can see, but it will move out there in the north coast of the coast there of Quebec, which is good news for people looking to get a last bit of summer up there in Labrador. Now let's take a quick look at the long range forecast, and I'm going to step out so you can actually see what's on these boards here. But look at those temperatures. You're looking 21 degrees on the Avalon, 22 on Sunday. That's looking good. And as you move up into Central, you're looking at less precipitation than you're going to see on the eastern part of the island. And look at those temperatures. Just take a quick look at central Newfoundland on Sunday, 29 degrees. Now, if that holds, that's going to be a warm, like what's that, early to mid-September, 29 degrees. That's incredible. Now, if we take a quick look up into Labrador, we're going to have a see what's going on there. And you can see there on Thursday in eastern and in western Labrador that rain. Now, that was that system that we looked at in the future tracker that is going to bring some precipitations. There are no amounts yet, but hopefully it's not going to be too bad. But look at those temperatures. Look at that. Friday in western Labrador, 21, 26 on Saturday. In eastern, you're looking at 23, 27, and 24 degrees. So summer's not over yet, so you should enjoy the higher temperatures while we got them, because we all know they're not going to last forever, and we've had a good run so far. And speaking of Labrador, I was sent this beautiful picture of the Northern Lights from Labrador City. Let's take a quick look at that. Look at that. Now that is from Larry Jenkins. He sent that in. This is Albert Lake in Labrador West, and some of our viewers will remember that I did live in Labrador, and that's the only time that I've ever seen the Northern Lights was when I lived in Labrador City. But Carolyn, what a beautiful